I first want to, just say mad respect, Michigan. I'm a Michigander.
Oh,
And I was like,
amazing.
yeah, my girl from Michigan. Where are you from?
Okay, so I'm so happy you asked because I actually, if you're a Michigander, you understand. So we all say like where we're from on the hand,
Yes.
and I'm actually from West Bloomfield, which is Metro Detroit. But I did go to Michigan State University, which is
Me
East Lansing.
too.
So I actually, so
I'm
that's East Lansing in my hand. I have it tattooed on my hand. So that's what that heart tattoo on my hand is actually East Lansing, Michigan.
I love you're a Spartan too. Well, I grew up in Farmington Hills. So
Oh
like
my God. Literally,
long.
I grew up on Maple and Orchard, which is right
Oh,
next to Farmington.
yes. Yes. It's so funny. I'm,
Oh
pro-
my
I'm
gosh.
I'm probably your mother's age, but yeah, I went to Michigan State. I was there when the land sharks started. So
Oh my God. That's incredible. I love that.
yes, yes, okay, yeah. But I was like, oh, my girl from Michigan's there. Because it's interesting if you had ever watched the other Below Decks, Jamel Hill, our other girl from Miss, she was the editor of the state news for a couple of years, and she was on Below Deck Med and regular Below Deck. But
Funny because I actually know a girl, her name was Madison on Below Deck Sailing. She
yeah,
had blonde hair. She's from Michigan State and she's only like a year older than me. So we went to school together and we worked on a boat like a year before she got on Below Deck. So it's like all such a Spartan yachting world.
I love that because okay, so I was gonna ask you, what's so funny is people don't realize Michigan is a total boating community. Is that how you kind of got into yachting?
No, absolutely not. I got Michigan, yes, is boating. And my dad had boats growing up, but like I never drove it. That was like more my dad and my brother. I was just there literally for the ride of it. And I actually got into I actually got into yachting because my mom is like a fan of just Bravo in general. And so she was watching Below Deck. This is back in like 2016. I graduated from college in 2016. And at that point in my life, I was working in national parks as a server. So I worked like in Yellowstone National Park and Denali in Alaska. I worked in Lake Tahoe. And that's like what I did in during the summers of college and then also post grad for a year. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I really don't want to serve anymore, but I really want to travel. Like I loved living in exotic places, just doing a normal job.
Mhm.
And it came to a point where I was like, I don't know what to do next. And my mom was like, well, there's this thing called yachting. And she found it through the show Below Deck. And so, long story short, she bought me the 5 day classes you need to take,
Mhm.
which single parent, like that was literally like her gifting me a possibility. It wasn't like money that she just had on the side. And so it was a really big sacrifice that she did from just love. And I loved yachting. I loved the environment. I loved being like 22 in Fort Lauderdale, working on these multi-million-dollar boats. And then, of course, full circle comes and I'm actually on Below Deck. 3 years later, it took 3 years, or it didn't take 3 years, but
That's I love that.
in that time, yeah.
I love that. We're all over down here. Everyone. I mean, I think more on the west coast of Florida and see more the Michigan people, but yeah, I mean that's so it's interesting. Like, so you had how many boats had you worked on before you were on down under? Couple?
Yeah, like full time, so that means I was contracted to 3 boats, but
Okay.
then, like, I was, like, freelancing a lot,
Mhm.
so probably at least, like, 6.
Oh, that's a lot.
Well,
That's,
like, freelancing is, like, a week or 2, like,
yeah.
it can be a short stint, so, like, altogether, but yeah, I was contracted to 3.
Ah, okay. Okay. So when you how did you get on the show? Did you start watching it and did you apply or did they kind of seek you out?
No, I actually fully intentionally went on it because I was like, I wanna be on it, so I reached out to them actually, and it was something that I knew that, like, it was part of my life's journey, and it wasn't just like, "I wanna be on a reality show," or, like, anything like that. It was like, I knew from the beginning that this was gonna be part of my journey, like, being on, like, the bigness of, like, TV is something that attracted me from, like, a really young age, especially specifically reality. So I didn't wanna be an actress or anything, but, like, I just, like I love showing people the vulnerabilities and the messiness of what a human is, because sometimes I think we try to like pretend that our human experience is perfect and perfection on Instagram, and I take the complete opposite route of like, these are my limiting beliefs and this is what I'm struggling with, and my this is how I was raised, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to carry on those beliefs that I like grew up with. And
Mhm.
so I really like to show off like the messiness of being a human, and that's why I was so attracted to just like showing it on a macro level.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think it is interesting, Nick, women on deck has always fascinated me because, they do show usually on Below Deck, at least one woman on deck, but
Mhm.
it seems like they're always up against a lot of, adversity. Could you seem to really roll with it though, Bertini? You seem to be like, all right, fine, put the helmet on me. I'm good. Did you feel that way, or did you feel sort of like I'm the only woman with all these guys?
I mean, okay, so I definitely didn't feel like I'm the only one with all these guys. It feels really natural. I have like a very like laid back, natural
Yeah.
aesthetic to myself when it comes to that. And working on deck for 3 years, you just get I am in general, you are always the only female on deck. So it's just something that you kind of get used to. And in general, like before yachting, I was like backpacking the world solo. And so there's just like this presence that you have to have by being like super solo independent, and so yeah, it was easy to like coexist with just men. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if you in the last episode you saw that I basically like got to this emotional point where I broke down because like, yes, I didn't get a tip, but it was really more of like I just felt like I was always having like I put this belief that I always have to prove, I always have to prove, I always have to prove. Like my ladder is the same length, but the steps are wider apart, is what it
Mhm.
feels like when I'm on deck. And so not having like the physical validation of a tip like everyone else got, it made me feel like I'm not good enough. And so it just exposed this like inner trigger in me. And so yeah, I put pressure on myself on deck because of that, like being a female for sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I definitely want to ask you about the tip because it was almost like you put all this hard work in your heart and soul and they didn't see you. Did you ever find out? Now, was it you and Toomey, or was it just you that didn't get the tip?
It was to me and I, so that allowed me to feel a little like not as singled out. Um, but and on that trip, I felt like Toomey and I were more the people like doing behind the scenes of the trip. Like we weren't the faces, which
Mhm.
it's not like it's not like you're told, okay, Brittini, you talk to the guests more on this trip. It just naturally happens.
Yeah.
Obviously, with those guests, I wasn't like gravitated towards them, so I wasn't naturally like trying to like put my face in their face. Um, I was just like hustling and getting their like scuba gear together and doing all the like behind the scenes things so that their trip could go seamlessly and them not having to like wait on like scuba gear to get on the boat, you know? So they just weren't seeing the work that was being done by the both of us.
Yeah. Did you ever get an explanation like later on? Because it was kind of mean.
Yeah, no, never did. They never reached out like on social media, even like while the episode aired, like just kind of like silence. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So hopefully
Yeah.
they like acknowledge that.
Yeah, no, because it was obvious, and both of you were killing yourself. And then, of course, I spoke to Jason, Captain Jason, a while ago, and just got just the most positive, happy vibes, like just dad vibes. Like when you had that moment with him, did you feel like I can just confide in him and talk to him? You
Yeah.
seem it was such a genuine moment.
Yeah, no, Captain Jason has literally from the beginning, like even in the just short time that we spoke, like I'm very about energy and about my intuition and the universe. And like he has that within him too.
Mhm.
Um, and so like I just naturally feel like I was and still do feel like I can speak to him at the level that I naturally want to be seen at. And so for me, that's like at a deeper level. And so that's why out of all the men on the boat, I felt like I can emotionally almost break down in front of him and not be ridiculed. And obviously, he was able to hold space for me so beautifully and hug it out.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all you
You ever?
need. All you need is that physical, like, you're okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're gonna get through it. And like, I didn't even know I needed that at the time, but when I got that, I was like, oh, that's all I needed. And I like went upstairs and just did my thing.
Yeah, no, it was just, he definitely has that parental aura about him. Like even when the toilet overflowed, like I have two kids, they're probably about your age, and the first thing I do is just drag myself out of bed and be like, all right, we're gonna figure this out. Have you ever worked with a
Yeah,
captain like that? Who would do that?
absolutely not. I'm like, I still am shocked that Benny like woke the captain up. That's like the number one rule. Do not wake the captain up unless like the boat's on fire. Like seriously. So, but so like that was hilarious. But the fact that like the captain just like rolled with the punches and like knew that he like needed to do this to like get the morale up was really awesome to watch and kind of be a part of.
Yes, yes, no, he's incredible. And then as far as some of your coworkers, it seems like you and Toomey really got
Oh my
close. Would
god,
you say who would you say you became closest with on the boat? Was it her?
to
Or-
me, 100%. To me and I were like, and like as the episodes are coming out, because I'm obviously watching it with you guys. And so it's like it's so amazing to see our friendship like slowly like emerge. Because we met on the boat. So like we are genuinely like friends. And like I just talked to her on the phone yesterday and we text like every day. And so I'm I have so much gratitude that it was filmed and to watch our friendship flow. And like the first time that you're actually a witness of our friendship was when like she came and hugged me and I like cried. Like it was, I'm just so lucky. And Aesha even said this to us the other day. It was like, she's like, I don't know. Like, obviously, she chose who lives with each other. And she's just like, I'm so happy that I chose that you and Toomey live together because it could have been like anyone. Right. And so
Yeah.
we're both so grateful that we were roommates and we were able to have such a like loving connection too.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I've talked to her. She's absolutely one of the most loveliest people I've ever spoken to. She just has such class, like, and it
Oh my
shows
God.
in what
Her
she does.
accent's so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, but like her table decor, I mean, the pride
Yeah.
she takes is just outstanding. Well, I have to ask you about the guys. It is interesting. I spoke with Jamie, and he had just tons of positive things to say about you. Like he's like, I know she's green, but I really enjoyed working with her and training her. And I don't think he was negative about anyone. I did read recently, Benny was not happy that, that Jamie was a little confused with him. Was that sort of the vibe you got, working for Jamie on the boat?
Was he confused with Benny? Is that the question?
Yeah, and did you feel like he truly wanted to mentor you, or was he like
Mm.
micromanaging or
No, I definitely felt like there was a mentor aspect because even though I worked on 3 boats prior, like the first boat I was a stew. So I was greener compared to the other boys on deck as a deckhand.
yeah.
And I was very upfront, like, I want you to mentor me because I want to excel and get better.
Mhm.
And I think he saw that I was serious because when he taught me things, I would ask him questions and it would stick.
Mhm.
So I received that very well. Um, and then regarding like Jamie and Benny's relationship, it was really interesting to be like a witness to it because a lot of the times, like Jamie would talk to Benny like separately from us. So I actually, and you can see that, like, you
Mhm.
don't see Culver and I there while Jamie's like telling Benny like what he did wrong. And so it was hard for me to fully understand their dynamic, but I did like notice that their dynamic was um kind of just trying to figure themselves out. Like, I don't think there was ever like I don't like Jamie experience. It was more just like they didn't get one another at a level
Yeah.
in these at the beginning. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And you also seem to kind of go in with both feet, like with the whole anchor locker drama, the chain thing, and Benny got really upset, and you're like, I'll go in, and so it was just, I think, little things like that. Did you feel like perhaps Benny was just so wounded, and it was probably too fresh for him to dive into experience like this?
No, I actually never thought of it that way. I honestly just feel like his way of taking authority is different than Culliver and I.
Hmm.
And I have told this to his face, like yachting is just different. Like it's very like the way you almost have to get used to people telling you what to do. Like it's very like do this, do that, and like it happened, don't take it personally. Whereas like Benny, his form is more of a communicative, emotional like conversation. which is fine. None of them are better or worse. It's just on yachting, it's a lot more direct. And so I think it was hard sometimes for Benny to take that. And then also Jamie might not have understood that he had to speak to Benny a little differently than he did to Culver and I. So there's no bad, it's just different. And they both, Jamie and Benny both have to like learn how to interact with each other so that it doesn't become so like wishy-washy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of animosity. It just seems a little clunky sometimes, maybe. You know.
Right.
I have to ask you about the most controversial figure on the boat, which it doesn't seem like you had a lot of interaction with Ryan, but he's just going to do whatever he wants to do. How was that working with him? Did you really have any kind of big interaction with him, or was it more watching him and Aesha sort of, you know?
Yeah, well, because like literally what you like when you see Aesha and Ryan talking, like no deckhand is in there because we're literally outside. So like truly the first time I'm seeing everything for the first time is alongside you guys. If I'm not in that, like, I guess you can call it scene, but it's really just real life. So if I'm not in that real life period, I don't see it. So I never saw the intensity of Ryan and Aesha and Ryan's dynamic. This is my first time and I'm like pretty like stunned by it, to be honest. But something that like some people don't know, actually I knew Ryan before the show. So like I walked on the boat. I didn't tell him I was coming, but I knew he was there. And so I walked on the boat and I was like, "What's up, Ryan?" Because like him and I actually worked on a boat together like a few months prior to the season starting. So even though it's not seen that much, like Ryan and I did have like a relationship prior as friends. And I kind of knew the like personality energy he was. So I wasn't too like shocked by it, you know. I kind of like if you see me a lot in the like when we eat dinner out, I'm just kind of like chose not to put energy into something that I knew wouldn't give me energy back. It'd be depleting. So that's just kind of how I like worked around that. But like I actually really do like Ryan. I think he's a sweet man. Like we talk all the time. So
but that's, you know, here, all right, so let's plead his case because he's really getting dragged. I'm sure you're seeing it. And, you know, and then, you know, he's mentioned a few times about losing his father, which seems to have really impacted him. What are we not getting about Ryan that that, you really like about him?
Well, I think it's funny because I've talked about this before and I'm so happy it seems like Toomey has the exact same reaction to him, is that I don't know, she has empathy for him. For me, I just see what is happening. It just sounds like he's reacting in his life. And even Jamie said that, like he reacts. And it just seems like he's reacting from an inner child wound. Like it just seems like, yeah, I don't really know how old he is. Let's say he's in his late 20s, but sometimes he shows up as this like 9-year-old child when his father passed away. And those parts of him come out when things aren't working the way he wants them to work. So it's not necessarily where I'm like, oh, that's totally okay. But I see past the like intensity and I can see what actually is most likely happening behind the scenes of himself.
Okay. Is he like funny?
And that's what Toomey said.
Okay. Yeah. So is he like a funny guy or like, cause you know, we're only seeing all these arguments. So
yeah, no, at the end of the day, he's like this really big, like, no, not big. He's like this small teddy bear that just wants to be like held. And he's like, yeah, no, he's like that small teddy bear that just wants to be like loved and held at the end of the day.
Okay, that's good though, because we all have two sides, and I've just been curious, you know, what's going on with him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it I didn't even see either. Like the times Ryan and I only hung out were like on days off or like on nights out, like when we had the charter let go. So I didn't like being outside. You don't really interact with the interior, which is really wild because a lot of the things I didn't even know were happening at all until the show comes out.
So it's a surprise to you too.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, would you do this again? And are you going to stay in yachting?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the experience. And I think everyone that we worked with knows that I loved it, the whole experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, yachting is something that like go away. Like I took time off of yachting like a few years and then you go right back into it. So it's always, always, always there. Um, so we'll
Yeah.
see. I'm open to whatever happens, whatever feels right.
Yeah.
I go with.
That's Like, would you want to be like a captain someday, or you want to just sort of go with this and see what?
Honestly, like I'm just seeing where life takes me. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And
Free spirit.
yes, you are a free spirit. You are a Spartan.
Exactly.
Well, that's wonderful. And then are you on a boat right now, or are you in between gigs right now?
Now I'm actually in Austin, Texas, which is honestly the first time I've ever decided to like root somewhere in my life since college, since East Lansing.
Wow.
So right now, that's what feels the most nourishing to me is to like actually own a space that's mine and not like a bed that thousands of people have slept in before me because I'm like in a hostel Airbnb. Like,
Yeah.
so right now, that's what feels best.
That's great though. That is
Yeah.
wonderful. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I was just telling Haley, we are just loving the season. It is just funny and interesting and fascinating. And did you get to explore Australia a lot when you guys were off, or did you have to leave right away?
Well, yeah, we did explore it a bit. And I actually did live in Australia when I was 19. So I lived in Melbourne for 5 months. So
Ah,
I've been everywhere in Australia prior. So it's a beautiful country, and the people are what make it so beautiful.
yeah. Did you do a study abroad thing, or
Yeah, through Michigan State. Yeah.
yeah. I did one too, but I went to London and I didn't go that far. But that is so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. All right. Well, thank you so much. I cannot wait to tell my peeps back home that you're Spartan too. Where did
Heck
you live?
yeah.
I'm just curious. Where did you live on campus?
Yeah. Hubbard, Shaw.
Me too.
I was in a sorority, so I lived in Gamma Phi Beta for a semester. And then I was in a co-op. I lived on the big blue house on MAC. It's like a huge co-op
Oh, wow. I'm
where like
trying to,
it's
yeah.
a huge blue Victorian, like blue, yellow, green, like all these crazy colors on MAC. And there's like 27 of us, boy
I
and
love
girl,
it.
just living in a huge Victorian historic home. It was pretty wild.
I loved it. I love it. Yeah, I lived on Abbott in this house across from Sigma Nu. And it's so funny
Okay.
because when we were there, this was the 80s. We left and we are like, oh, they're gonna bulldoze this house. I think it's still there. It was
Amazing. Amazing. It's so
condemned.
different
I
now.
know.
East Lansing's so different than even when I was there. So
Yeah, no, I haven't
you'll
been
have to see
back,
it.
and I live in Florida now, so I haven't been back. But very cool to meet someone from home, and we're loving
Yeah.
doing the show. And thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was so fun for chatting.